This is the North End. This is the North End.
Welcome to the North End Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to do a Euros roundup, transfer rumors, and of course our post-pod chat. I want to welcome in the obvious people here, and unfortunately we're missing one of our favorite people, but I'm here with Paul and Conny, and Luke, we miss you, buddy. We tried to get the tech working, but we had some issues. So
what's going on, YouTube?
Here we are on the tubes. We're experimenting with a proper studio with some wireless microphones and some other stuff, and it mostly works. But anyway, welcome to the show.
Should we say
Conny?
what's up, YouTube, and what's up, our usual podcast people?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully some of those folks are here with us.
Because they can't work both devices. They're not smart enough. I know it.
Well, we aren't smart enough, so that says everything, doesn't it? How's it going there? How you doing, Conny?
Good. Do you like have to hold that up?
No, I could probably put it down.
I wasn't sure.
Thank you for telling me I was doing
I'm
that.
sorry. Excited to be here in the studio with you guys. Fortunately, Luke can't be here, but we haven't done this in a while. We haven't done it live, and I got to tell you, I'm excited. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. It's odd. This is very odd because the last 30 or so podcasts we've done with the 4 Brady Bunch screens. Paul, how are you doing, buddy? It's good to have you here in person.
Good, man.
I had a couple beers with you.
I legitimately love that we're physically back together, having a few pints before we actually podcast.
Which maybe didn't help the process.
Which is probably gonna cost us in the end. But also, I love that we're recording in this new space, which I'm convinced is haunted, or
100%.
If it's not haunted now, will be haunted soon because it's a murder scene waiting to happen.
That's true.
And I love it.
So
I love
true.
it.
Do you still feel good about your sleeveless decision?
Not deliberate, but feel pretty good. The lighting is helping, and
I think the heat too probably is helpful for that because I'm so freaking hot.
There's a nice breeze.
There is a little.
Through.
I just felt that right
It's
now.
nice,
It's
right?
I'll hold my arms up for a little bit.
I mean,
I was just stressed out, folks. If you're watching, I was just stressed out. Trying to sort out the tech, and then as you do that, you're moving around a lot.
You were moving around, and you've built up a little bit of a sweat.
Look at that. It's disgusting.
Oh, I can see it.
For the last half hour, Brian's been trying to sort out the tech, and the entire time, Connie's like, "Did you try?"
Just asking stupid questions.
Fill in the blank. Whatever he said after that was the equivalent of "Did you shake it?"
Sounds like
Did
feedback.
Did you plug it in and
blow
plug
into it?
Plug it.
Have you done that?
Have you
Nintendo.
unplugged it and plugged it back in
Blowing
again?
the cartridge.
Yeah, it was a fun half hour.
You're troubleshooting at that point.
It's been
You
a
got to
blast.
try it all.
It's been a blast. Well, welcome to the show, folks, and we are going to talk some football eventually because we always do. And again, I want to shout out to Luke. Sorry, buddy, for not getting you sorted out there, but we'll sort it out for next time. We're going to talk a little bit about the Euros. There's a tournament that just ended. I'm pretty sure if you're a football fan, you saw it, you were watching, and it ended in the best possible way for some, and in the worst possible way for others. I was one of the others, sadly. Did not want to see. I wanted to see England win, and they didn't. But I just want to say, well, first I want to check with you guys. Paul, did you enjoy the tournament? Was it something you had? It was fun watching, or was it just?
Did you embrace it?
I mean, I know you're a Scotland fan, so you probably enjoyed it for
I'll
about
ask you
10
the question.
minutes.
Did it go home? Did it end up coming home?
It went Rome.
It went wrong.
No, then I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. Thank
Okay.
you very much. It was a great tournament. I love the end of it. It was I'm obviously going to be vocal about not supporting England for reasons that are related to the fact I'm Scottish. But I thought the final was worthy of a very good tournament. I thought it was a very entertaining final. I thought the entire tournament was great. I thought, if you look back as a whole and you step back and look at that entire Euro and go, what the fuck did that have? It had fans coming back after an absence that nobody's really experienced before. There was one game, I think it was in Denmark, where it was insane.
Oh, that was cool.
It was insane.
That was cool.
That would have been impressive if fans were regularly part of sports, but because they hadn't been a part of sports for so long, they just did their nation proud with how they turned out. And then Denmark also had, a player died on the field this tournament. That was insane.
That was wild.
And you had Italy come out of nowhere to become the most dominant international team, and you had England, which was, I thought they had a really good tournament. I thought they were great to kind of follow. I don't like England as a nation to win in football, but I thought I like the players on that.
Yeah, I think it's a likable squad, and as much as people slag Southgate and have continued to do so, I think he's done a good job. With
Yeah,
that,
it was
with
great.
the-
It's a great tournament.
But let's dial it back a little because I'm going to jump in. Let's talk about the start of the tournament because I think it's important to mention this. Whether it's the first game or the second game, I can't recall. Christian Eriksen goes down, and he does, and we're not joking here. He dies on the field, and he's revived, and thankfully he's okay. The thing that I mean, you don't enjoy that scenario ever, but I think that galvanized the fans of every country,
Yeah, I
every
agree.
team, the way every team responded. Thankfully, within about 24 to 48 hours, he seemed to be making a recovery. But I will say that the response that got from every fan and other teams was kind of like, as terrible of a situation it was, it galvanized the fans and the teams for the tournament. And I
Yeah.
thought it was a great tournament. Like, there was, as any tournament is, there's, performances where you don't, I don't like the term flop, but like, you talk about a Kylian Mbappe where, supposed to be one of the best players in the world, underperforms. Then you talk about a Cristiano Ronaldo, who's 36 years old, doesn't seem to age. He's a machine,
Yeah.
wins the Golden Boot. But like, for me, like, I had heavy favorites, France. They went out, Belgium as
out.
well.
Yeah.
I mean, England were there, but like, to Paul's point earlier, for me, is this the revival of the Italy that we've known from 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say that. I'd say it's maybe an extension of sort of their mentality as a country, because they win, right? They're
Yeah.
known for winning, and they've got that as a mentality. But as far as the way they played, Mancini's had Italy playing in a way, especially in the group stages, that was incredible to watch because they were very attacking. It wasn't sit deep and see what happens. It was go at the other teams, 4-3-3, really attacking formation, and really good football to watch. Again, it came up to some more difficult sides, and they became a bit more pragmatic. I think of like that Spain game where Spain just ran the game with possession. But not the same as old Italy sides, but certainly back to Italy being in the conversation for these tournaments.
For me, I don't want to get into this too much because we could go down a rabbit hole, but you used the term mentality. And when I watched that final, especially extra time and penalties, I would have betting's not a word. I would have bet anything that Italy were going to win. Because at that point, there's something about that football nation where it clicks, and I don't want to use the term choke, but when England, the weight of the nation, everyone knows how important. You could see them in extra time. And for me, and I was saying this to Paul earlier, for me on paper, and I have a lot of conviction about this, that England team, in my personal opinion, is just a much better team than Italy. But you could see the mentality and the desire from the Italians. They were like,
yeah, I would agree with that.
They're one of those teams who don't know when they're beaten and they will fight till the end.
But I don't know if you could use that same analogy in penalties. I agree with it within the game.
Yeah,
certainly, because we saw the difference from the first half to the second. Italy were incredible. Paul doesn't want us to talk about too much about the final, but it does come into the conversation. The mentality perspective in the shootouts was one goalkeeper saved one more penalty than the other.
Yeah,
like it was, both teams missed two, and then the other one missed a third. So it's really hard to say that's mentality because I think both teams came up, other than probably a couple, that I don't think Saka should have taken the last penalty. I think that was an error in judgment from Southgate, but. Very close game. Really fun to watch.
The reason why I don't like talking about too much about the final is because Italy won a major tournament, which means they won all the games to get to the final, and then they obviously won the final. If you talk about the final, they won the final in shootouts, which is a coin toss.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't dominate that game, and they played against
They did dominate the second half massively.
They didn't dominate the game.
Yeah.
And that was a much younger,
60%
inexperienced England team compared to what is a team in Italy driven by a lot of veterans that were like dominant.
They're still actually pretty young side though, despite the defenders.
Be specific. You're talking about that center back partnership because the rest of that team is very young.
I'm sorry, but there's a few other players that I would say are like they've been around the block. Jorginho's been a guy who like
still young.
It's still young, but like Calvin Phillips. He was a non-English player, non-starter, not even a dream of being on England a year or 2 years ago. Anyways,
hold on. I would argue
I don't want to get segued by this because
he was a standout player of the tournament.
Yeah, you're going to drag me into a conversation.
No, you're right. You're right. We could go down a rabbit hole.
My point being that game could have gone either way. So when people start talking about the mentality of Italy being so superior and all these things, I'm like, well, it could have gone either way. Like, if there was 1 inch different on Rashford's penalty, we wouldn't be talking about the mentality of Italy all of a sudden.
That's true. That's a good point.
And that's what I was saying. I don't think the penalty makes a difference.
It's giving them a little bit too much credit for my liking. They deserve to win, obviously, because they won they won the damn thing. But like, you can also go to Spain and say Spain.
If Spain had a striker, they would have slaughtered.
Honestly,
Italy.
if they could finish one of the 18 chances they get in the game, they could have been in the final.
Well, they needed a striker.
I don't want to like raise the Italian flag too high. I'm obviously very happy England didn't win, but I'm also not going to go out of my way to say, well, Italy is the most dominant team.
Let's move away from the final then a little bit. What is any standout performances from other players in the tournament, or other teams, or other coaches, or other countries? What anything that stood out to either of you guys that you want to talk about? I'll start with you, Connie. What stands out to you?
I'm going to say a couple things because there's a couple players that stood out to me for sure. Okay, maybe I'll do that, and then I'll kind of talk about a team that I thought that when they went out and the way they went out was wildly disappointing. But I think Paul just mentioned it. I didn't expect Calvin Phillips to, one, be a starter in the England squad, and two, had no idea he would play the way he played. Like, if I would have told you that Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice were starting and Declan Rice would get taken off before him every game, what would you have told me before the tournament?
I would have thought that's nuts. I never would have thought that. But here's the thing, and I would give him a bunch of credit, because for Leeds, when he was injured towards the end of last season, they came up against Spurs, and we had a conversation on my other channel about the difference between Leeds with him and without him, because what he does for Leeds is what he did for England, which is running that midfield and being really aggressive, right, keeping the ball and being able to turn and get the ball moving forward and in transition, which is what he did for England. So to be fair, I actually wasn't that surprised at that level, maybe because it was such a pressured situation. There was a bit of surprise, but he did what I've seen him do with Leeds against my team and against every team in the Prem. So I just didn't expect him to be able to be undroppable.
Schick from the Czech Republic, I thought he was fantastic, I have to say, and it pains Paul and I to probably say this, but goal of the tournament against Scotland just hit. I think if he could have taken that shot 20 times, he doesn't hit it as well as he hit it right there.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's a tradition for Scotland to get knocked out by amazing goals that just don't happen regular minutes. Like, that's.
Are you simply thinking of Paul Gascoigne's goal in Euro 96?
I'm not even mad at it.
It's
just part of
the conversation.
It's just part of the thing where you can go, yeah, you know what? Credit to him. If you're going to score the goal of the tournament to knock us out.
Was that the goal of the tournament for you?
100%, not even close.
It was one of them.
What was the other?
There's a few others that stood out to me. I mean, Pogba's goal was incredible. Insignia's goal was incredible.
But none of them were as good as that.
Well, that one was also just because it's such a clever moment when you score from the half. It's always going to be remembered more than the other ones. Maybe they were more technical, but that was just him recognizing a moment and making magic happen. So,
can you tell you the other guy who I thought really stood out for me and was a bit of, I guess, a comeback story when it comes to the national team? Was Karim Benzema, and we all, I mean, I'm not going to say we all know, but he hasn't been a part of the French squad for a number of years. Just do a little bit of Google why. I'm not going to get into it.
It's a rabbit hole.
Had an issue with the coach and some other things.
No, there's some other things, but we're not going to talk about that. But his ability to get goals and improve himself, as he really, I thought about it for a second when that tournament, he really is one of the best goal scorers of this last 10 to 12 year generation. Even when Ronaldo left,
I think he would have probably been considered better if he didn't play with Ronaldo. You know, because I think he gave a lot to
everybody.
Ronaldo.
Gave a lot to Ronaldo.
Yeah, in that team. So I think that was the inevitability of it. But when Ronaldo left last season, Benzema was clearly the man. You know, for Real Madrid. So, Paul, did you have any standouts you want to talk about?
I did, but I'm going to ask this question because I think it's just relevant to that point. It's just France, I think today was listed as the favorite for the World Cup.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Which is,
there's something to be so on that. I don't know what your question was, but on that sort of conversation about France, my girlfriend Nina, she supports France and has done her entire life.
Nina, no.
What? Is there a reason
Nina,
why?
no.
She's half French, so.
Oh well, that might be the reason.
It's a good reason. But yeah, she supports France, and going into it, I paid quite a bit of attention because of her paying attention to France, quite a bit of the players and the sort of what the mood in the squad was. And there was a massive disconnect between, like, you know, the two teams that got to the final were the two teams that had an understanding of who they were as a squad, playing together, listening to the manager, no fighting, no egos. France had all of the opposite.
I heard that.
Massive egos, massive issues in the dressing room. Kylian Mbappe has this weird, over the top Messiah mentality, and that's unfortunate. I mean, it comes with.
But hold on a second.
Wait. Let me finish. Let me finish my fucking point before you jump on me there.
Okay.
Jesus, both of you guys. This is coming from good sources of what happened in the dressing room and the things that were said and done, and that he in him being at PSG and what is sort of looked at. He's very young, right? And I understand that it's misguided and that's unfortunate, but it is true and it is what's happened. Pogba has a very similar mentality. It runs through some of the specific players at the French squad who are very ego-driven and think about themselves probably more than the team. And that comes out in the way they played the football. It was not cohesive.
You're talking about the reigning World Cup champions. I'm
talking about the reigning World Cup champions in this tournament. I'm not talking about them previously. So don't bring back what happened.
What kind of credible sources are like saying there was problems in the dressing room with these key people?
Well, I mean, based on what
the people you've mentioned.
I don't know that I can name the sources, but I know that when I read them, I was like, that's surprising. I didn't expect that.
Wow.
And I didn't think that the sources were bad at the time.
I honestly think that one of the favorites to win a tournament got knocked out, and a lot of the press started writing a lot of stuff.
It was before that.
That was misquotes as well. Like a lot of translation stuff that happened was
maybe
just like misquotes.
I could be wrong.
And
it just looked like that to me too.
It's just amazing how quickly we go from and I'm not harping on it because people are saying it. It's definitely out there. But for a young player like Mbappe to be called savior complex or messiah complex,
it's gone to his head a little bit is all I'm saying.
But says who? It's always based on these things that he's never actually said publicly.
Okay.
He's not saying it on the mic in front of
I'm
the
not
press.
saying he said it. I'm saying it's been interpreted based on his behavior in the dressing room.
Well, I'm just saying there's
different.
this weird narrative.
It's not weird.
Okay, Brian, there's a very strange narrative that went against Mbappe after they got knocked out. And I think a lot of it is you get used to seeing that shit against the English players because the English press, I think he's kind of victim of the world press kind of picking on him because the team got knocked out.
Whoa. And again, I get what you're both saying. But let's not forget the quotes from, I don't know, arguably the greatest French player of all time, Zinedine Zidane, who I thought came out of left friggin' field with what he said about Mbappe. He basically attacked Mbappe.
No. Those quotes were debunked.
What?
He came back and said, I didn't say that.
Because it didn't sound like Zidane. I was like, Zidane would never say that about a French
player.
player.
Listeners, we won't reiterate the debunked phrases, but just iterate. There was a lot of shit that came out in the press that was like, this happened.
But there was also, Paul,
the favorites of the tournament got knocked out, and then the press had a field day because there was nothing.
Makes sense.
So again, I'm not suggesting that much of the post stuff was true, but what was happening during the tournament, even before the tournament, from some of the French press, were saying that there was the squad weren't united the same way they would have been previously.
Interesting.
And when you watch the way they play and the way they responded to difficult situations, it looked like that. Well, you play football. When you watch a team and you see them play, and you see them when they're cohesive and when they understand each other and they're responding to each other, the way they play at the level that they play at. France looked disconnected as a team. It's just, if you watch, I watched every group stage game I watched, and I was like, they don't look good. They don't look like they know what they're doing.
Well, look at their collapse, though.
So I just think that's one sort of fits the other.
So it sounds like we collectively agree they maybe shouldn't be the favorites for the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I wouldn't agree with that. I still think they're the best team on the planet.
I think they're the best players on the planet. I think the best team on the planet.
I brought up France, so the tangent about France, I kind of initiated that.
I
would say some of the surprises for me was we've talked about this a little bit when we were at the patio before this. Pedri for Spain.
Ooh. Oh, brilliant! Absolutely fantastic player.
Like
18 years old.
So this is kind of what I expect.
He plays for Barcelona, by the way, right now.
For major tournaments, I expect to see one or two players I've never really heard of before
stand out.
Like what James Rodriguez did in a World Cup not that long ago, where all of a sudden you're like, who is this baller?
Yeah.
Where has this guy been? And then you like 10 years from now, he's a constant. Like he's somebody you're always going to be aware of because he made his debut on this international stage and he's just too good not to. Like Mason Mount maybe is in the same category of, but I kind of know him because I watched the Premier League. But Pedri was the guy where I didn't really know him at all. And then you watch him play and you're like, what the fuck?
Ran that midfield for
He was
Spain.
great.
He's 18 years old.
He was great.
And he ran that midfield. He looked like an Iniesta.
Yeah, he was the engine room on that team.
Yeah. Incredible stuff.
And then if I had to give the other, like the breakout where the guy I didn't really know, but he seemed like he was just at a different level, just playing well above everybody. And it's kind of a bummer, is Spinazzola for Italy.
Yeah, when before his injury.
Before his Achilles went, which is a terrible injury. It'll keep him out for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I just have not seen somebody so dominant from a left back position where anytime he wanted to go by a guy with a ball.
No problem.
Yeah, he was great.
Anytime.
Yeah, as a left back, and he was creating so much for them in the group stages. Such a loss. When I want to talk a little bit about the most disappointing teams. And we talked about France, that's an obvious one.
Yeah.
But I think Belgium probably for me
Yep.
is got to be the most disappointing, because I think France, despite their problems, that game, the 3-3 going into penalties, there was issues there, but Belgium just looked really disconnected.
But you and I
and
had
really
a
not
conversation
well
about
managed.
this. You and I had a conversation about this.
Did we talk about it when we were drunk that night?
No, we talked about it before that. I think we talked
Specific.
I
about
feel
it.
like that's what we would have talked about.
I think we talked about it a little bit the day they got knocked out, and you brought up a great point, because I wasn't really thinking about it from that angle.
Yeah.
Because I was watching the game and I was like, I've never seen Kevin De Bruyne play so bad in my life. And you're like, dude, he's playing injured, and I didn't even think about it.
For sure he was. Yeah.
And he, like, you can say whatever you want about Man City, say whatever you want about Belgium. He's the most important player on the field, whatever friggin' team he's playing on. And I will tell you, that game they got knocked out, I've never seen him play worse. So, and you said he was injured, and maybe he was.
I think he came back too early. I mean, he got injured the previous game. I think everybody was surprised he played the next game, and then when he started playing, I was like, oh, he's not playing. He's not playing well. He was giving the ball away. His first touch was bad. His passing was slightly short. And usually when somebody plays that way, it means that they're not feeling comfortable on their feet. There's something about the way they're moving that isn't quite what they're used to doing.
So I thought Belgium were going to win the tournament before the tournament started. I said, you know what? They've been a bridesmaid the whole time. They've got the team. They've got the cohesion.
Biggest problem?
I don't know.
Martinez. Poorly
And
managed.
I was just going to say, I can't see him carrying them into the World Cup next year.
You can't bring on Nasser Chadli
I know.
at the end of a game that you need to win.
Former Spurs player?
But who then gets injured in about 5 minutes after being on the pitch because he wasn't fit. So it's just mismanagement. It's not knowing what's on your bench. He played a Vermaelen as a center half at 35 years old, former Arsenal player, and also not capable at this.
They got
at that
knocked
level.
out by Italy, though, no?
Yeah, they did.
Like, I give a little bit. So whenever a team gets
Tight
knocked out
game,
by the
though.
team that eventually wins, I always give it a little bit more of a,
But if you watch
You got knocked out by the champ.
game, though, they were poor.
If you watch that, and before the tournament started,
poor, but against a very good Italy team.
agree.
That, if I remember the game correctly, like, it's not like anybody should be surprised that the Italians can line up defensively and give a offensively talented team a hard time. Like, that's the DNA of the Italians.
Yeah, but Italy set up poorly against them. Lukaku was playing off Chiellini and Bonucci's shoulders.
Don't you dare speak bad of them.
But as soon as you do that with those two players, they'll own a striker.
Dominate you.
You watch what happened with Harry Kane in the final. Harry Kane was really useful in the first half because he dropped deep enough and he pulled one of them with him and it separated them. They like to play really close together as center halves, and they move and they do this.
They're
and
one unit almost.
Yeah, and as soon as you pull one away, you get space in behind. That's how they scored the first goal. England did. It's very similar. They drew him out. Harry Kane had the ball. Boom. There's space in behind, and that's you have to do that against Italy.
Belgium.
Excuse me. Completely botched it. Every time Lukaku got the ball, he had the two best center halves on him every time, and he couldn't do anything with it.
I also think that Belgium, I'm sorry, let's just be very clear here. Going into the tournament, I know Italy were fantastic. On paper, if I told you those two teams are playing in a knockout game,
you'd pick Belgium.
you both would pick Belgium.
I picked Belgium before it happened.
I thought so did I. They underperformed significantly.
100%.
They did.
I would not, having seen the Italian national team play in Rome a year earlier live.
Paul has some sort of weird connection that he thinks is real.
Do you know that I saw Italy and Scotland in a World Cup
I made eye contact with
in
Chiellini.
Hampden Park, and they tied one each. That was a big moment.
All right, lads, anything else to add to the Euros before we move on?
Well, if we're talking about disappointments,
let's talk. Let's finish that.
Obviously France we covered, Belgium we've covered. And as a Premier League fan, obviously this is a Premier League podcast and it's a Premier League show. If you don't know, welcome to a Premier League show.
Cheers.
I was a little bit disappointed with the Harry Kane. I wasn't cheering for England, but at the same time, he is the league's most elite striker. There can be no argument about that. And he did not feel like one of Europe's elite the entire tournament.
Wow, I honestly think you weren't paying attention, but that's
I don't know if that's a fair
ridiculous
comment at all. I thought he had. I'm not saying he had an incredible tournament, but I would say he had a good tournament.
He had a good tournament. He started slowly. He grew into the tournament.
What did he score? 3 goals or
4 goals? He scored 4 goals.
Did you see it a bad tournament?
No,
he scored 4 goals.
He scored 4 goals. No,
How many of those were in one game?
2.
So he scored 3 games.
4 goals in a major tournament. That's a good tournament.
So
I'm not sure why that matters, but
he scored in 3 games.
Did you watch him in the final in the first half? He was the best player on the pitch by far. Just
how many of those goals were penalties?
None.
He didn't score a single penalty.
No.
Oof.
I will tell you this though. I do think Italy and other teams actually, and I'll give them credit when they
He got isolated.
And I would do the same
You
thing.
have to.
I would do the
If
same.
you give
thing.
Harry Kane space, you're fucked.
You're done. And
Look
the only time he can be effective in that situation, and I don't know if this is a Southgate thing, he's going to drop deep, but that's going to change your position with your
what
wingers.
he does. That's what he did. What happened against Italy in the final in the first 15 to 20 minutes? Harry Kane ran the shit out of that game.
They should have scored 2 or 3.
He dropped
to be honest
deep.
with you.
He distributed.
Yeah.
He pulled either Chiellini or Bonucci out of position, and it gave position space in behind. He did it over and over again. And then in the second half, Mancini said to them, "That motherfucker gets no space. Take him out of the fucking game."
And
if you watch the first 15 minutes of the second half, he was non-existent.
Agreed.
It was literally like 3 players around him at all times, and England lost possession completely of the ball because they couldn't get it to him. So then they went long, and he kept doing headers and stuff, and it was like, yeah, Harry Kane looks like crap. Well, yeah, when you put 3 guys on the fucker and you change your midfield, they added a player. They took a player up top and put him into midfield, and had 3 in the midfield instead of 2. So they had 1 more player to mark Kane.
I don't know that I wanted to open the door to have an entire post-game review of the final, but what I'm
just telling you
saying
what
is
happened.
3 goals for Harry Kane.
4.
3 games where he scored for Harry Kane, 2 and 1, just felt a little light. And I will be very clear about this.
Is that only measurement?
I would also attribute a lot of that to the way that he was playing in the system that England were playing. It's not entirely a knock on Harry Kane, but like
I would agree with that. I don't
you go
think
into this tournament.
system
Harry
is
Kane was
defensive.
one of the favorites to win the Golden Boot. 6 goals won the boot.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of goals.
I think 5 won it.
5 won the boot.
Or 5, that's even less.
Yeah, so Harry Kane had 1 less than the Golden Boot.
And Cristiano won it joint with being knocked out in the first elimination round.
Yeah.
Like
Harry Kane didn't score in the first 2 games.
I just kind of feel like it was a little underwhelming from Harry Kane. I was a bit disappointed by
Slow
that.
start for sure.
Am I sitting here publicly saying he's shit or anything like that? No, fuck. He's a Gold Boot winner many times in the Premier League. He's a phenomenal. Was he disappointing for me in the tournament? I'm sorry, but he was. That was an underwhelming goal-scoring tally for who I know can score.
So again,
he could have scored 8, and I wouldn't even been surprised.
The problem with Harry Kane in this tournament, you pointed it out once already, Paul, is that the system that Southgate plays doesn't help Harry Kane. When you play 3 at the back and you play wing backs and you sit deep, if Harry Kane is isolated, which he was, especially in not just in that last game, but in many of the games, he has to drop deep, but then he has to have some players to play the ball to. He is going to be inevitably underwhelming in that system. You need an attacking system. You need somebody beside him that can also receive the ball or that feed him the ball. If he's isolated by himself and it's all going to go through him, he's gonna look like he's shit. And I get that. I don't think he had a great tournament, but I think you're underrating it a little bit. I think he had a massive effect in the games that he needed to.
Let's get off the Harry Kane thing.
That's literally the thing
I agree with you. I agree with you. But
I have been disappointed by movies that were pretty good, but I expected great. I'm still disappointed. Doesn't matter. It's not saying that they're shit.
And you're allowed to be disappointed. And I didn't say you said he
is.
was shit. I'm just trying to give a case for why he maybe looked like he underperformed, and perhaps he did because of being isolated, because of the system. But that's all I'm saying.
Before we move off the Euros, are we being dicks not mentioning that Raheem Sterling, given the season that he had with Man City, had a pretty solid tournament?
It was good. It was good. He was good up until the last 2 games.
Not for you.
Yeah. He was good. He was very effective in certain games against certain opposition. He was another player in that final who got isolated and taken out of the game. Barely touched the fucking ball against.
Can I also tell our viewers that we literally had a couple of drinks before that? We're like, the one thing we're not going to do is isolate on the final.
We didn't. We were just talking about Harry Kane for last time.
Right. I'll tell you who I feel, who I really feel kind of bad for, and who had a bad tournament. But I just think it's like just another expression of a weird kind of good, kind of bad career is Morata for Spain.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
Is
just
fuck.
I don't know what you do with this guy, man. He's so good, and then he's not. At the last second, he's not.
That goal he scored, that one goal he scored was fucking cracking.
It was a great goal.
Fantastic goal. And then he misses sitters.
Oh my God, he's just so frustrating.
He's unbelievable.
I've never seen anything
But
like
I will say, gentlemen, was it not nice to have an international tournament to watch and have some fans?
I really enjoyed it.
It was same. It was really nice. Games
every
every day, and it was awesome.
It was fun.
When internationals do not interfere with my regular league.
I love the international tournaments. I hate international breaks.
Agree.
But you're going to have one with the other. Yeah. All right, let's move on from the Euros, guys. And it was fun. It was a good chat. Yeah. But it's time to talk a little.
Oh, one last thing.
Oh,
yes.
Do you guys think in the World Cup, we could find jobs being the ones that drive that little remote control car.
Oh,
that brings
God.
the ball.
Oh, I love that.
Did you love it?
Wouldn't
I
that,
loved it.
Why?
'Cause
wouldn't
it was
that be the
cool,
coolest
man.
job?
It made me
Cool.
feel like a kid. It was cool.
so stupid.
You didn't like that?
No, I thought it was just.
Oh.
I thought it was pretty hokey.
Also, I want to be very clear. I don't want a job at the World Cup in Qatar. Period.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
pass on
not
that.
going, not watching.
Because I'll
The
probably
remote,
die.
the remote control car at the Qatar World Cup will be a giant
It just,
limo
it just melts. It just melts.
with a hot tub in the back,
Yeah.
custom built. Like,
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on. Let's move on from
Here's
the,
the Bugatti remote control car.
let's move on from the Euros, guys. It was fun, but let's get into what we all know and love as the silly season. It's transfer time. The Premier League starts in 2 weeks, or sorry, in a month, on the 14th of August. It is going to be an interesting silly season. We're used to things being pretty silly. I mean, this may be silly in a sense where it isn't so active, and we're just frustrated because we're waiting for shit to happen, and it just doesn't happen. You're like, come on, just fucking, I need a transfer, because that's what the hope is for. Like, something's going to happen. It's going to change a team's tournament. It's going to change what's going to happen in the Prem. So we're there. Paul, do you want to lead us on?
I fucking love silly season.
So do I.
It's you guys love it more than me. I'm
I've
just like,
become
can we
obsessed.
just kick the ball, please?
You know what?
No, I get
think 'cause
obsessed.
we're Man United fans and we get attached to like
Everything, yeah.
to everything, and we kind of can always afford, theoretically, at least in theory, everything. So we can believe a lot of the rumors. We get into it a lot more.
I believe everyone. I
Yeah,
get
it's
sucked
bullshit.
in.
So we'll start with we'll obviously start with a Man United rumor. This one feels like it has legs. This one feels like there might be something to it. It's the French international, current Real Madrid center back Raphael Varane is rumored to be unsettled at Real Madrid. He has a year left in his contract. He is in negotiation for more money, which is critical to this discussion and this rumor, because you can use Man United as a ploy, you can use them as a decoy, you can use them as a negotiation tool. But it doesn't feel like that's maybe happening here, because it feels like he's unsettled. It feels like there's some sort of legs to this. So the rumor today is that he's cleared to have discussion with personal terms. Apparently, personal terms will not be an issue, which is basically a blank check to him and his team to play at Man United. It means that, there's still a lot to go, because we still have to agree to a price to Real Madrid for a player that they value. So let's talk about Raphael Varane. For me, he immediately improves the starting 11, but Raphael Varane played with Sergio Ramos, who is also one of the world's best center backs for a very long time. Is he able to do what he did at Real Madrid without Ramos is a big question mark for me. Ramos was not available for the majority of this last season, and Real Madrid's defense was not great. Is that a question mark? Is that a door opening to a flaw? I don't know. I just don't know. But I would love if this was true, especially since it's like a $45 million rumor.
I have some thoughts on this. So to your point, will he be as good? You also have to remember that he had a certain gentleman named Casemiro playing in front of him, arguably one of the best defensive midfielders on the planet. So it's a factor. You also have to remember that he'd be playing beside Harry Kane, and I don't care who you support or what you think. You watch the Euros. Not Harry Kane, excuse me, Harry Maguire.
I was going to say, what?
Harry Maguire is one of the best central defenders on the planet. There's the price tag thing, everything you want.
He was incredible.
He's legit. He's Rolls Royce. You know who else is Rolls Royce? Raphael Varane. Here's the situation, and we're on YouTube. We're chatting here. We have to give a shout out to our boy Fabrizio Romano.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, by the way, if you're watching.
That's the thing.
Do that
Fabrizio
shit.
Romano. A lot of reports have come out in the last days and weeks about here. When you get a new agency and a new agent group in a season, you're likely looking for a change. The report that's come out, and Paul brings up a great point. Ramos has done this. Most players do it. If you're looking for a better contract, your agent links you to Manchester United. It's what he does. Apparently, solid reports through Romano and others have said Varane wants out. Now, here's the other thing. We all know the financial situation that Real Madrid are in right now, same as Barcelona to a certain extent. This is probably going to be his last big contract in football. Can we not agree?
Yeah.
He's looking for a payday, and according to Romano and others, he's looking for a change and a new challenge. Here's the thing. He's won 4 Champions Leagues with Real Madrid. He's done everything he can do. His partner Ramos just left. Ronaldo's been gone. Eden Hazard's a mess. I don't know the situation that Real Madrid are in is good for him right now. In Manchester United, you could argue, are on a trend up and are rebuilding and are looking better and better. So if you were to ask me this 6 months ago, I would say he's using Manchester United for a new contract. I don't believe that anymore. I think this is a deal that could happen. I think you're talking about one of the best top 5 center defenders on the planet. And I got to tell you, if they did pull this off, and I'm still very not sure what a signing it would be. Brian, what do you think about Varane from what you've seen of him?
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm going to be really annoyed if he goes to United, I have to say. Purely because of how good he is. I mean, you guys know the level that he's played at in the Champions Leagues, four of them, you said. I think that really solidifies United's defense. I think that probably the biggest problem in your defense is Maguire's partner.
Yeah.
Lingard is sorry, not Lingard.
What's his name?
Lindelof, thank you. Lindelof, not good enough.
Had a great Euro.
He was good in the Euros, but I mean, international football is
not a tier 1.
It's quite different. He's not
a tier 1 defender.
He's probably a tier 2, but you put those two guys together, Raphael Varane and Harry Maguire, and I think you've got a really, really solid center half pairing. If they can stay fit. How old is Varane now? He's
28.
Is he 27?
28. So he's still in prime.
Right,
he's in his prime as a center half. Let's be honest. That's like when you start to play your best too. So the fact that he's just getting into that part is, it's concerning for the rest of the Premier League. I think the United will be incredibly difficult to break down with him, and especially with the tournament Luke Shaw just had.
Yeah.
And you've got
Wan-Bissaka
on the right. That's a solid defense, and we all know defenses win leagues and tournaments almost every time. You know, like the City, despite playing without a striker last season, their defense is what won them the league
without question.
And I think if United can put together defense that they're looking to do, I think the rest of the leagues should be worried. And even I don't know about maybe challenging this season. I think Varane and Maguire will need a season to get cohesion. Probably by the end of the season they'll start to look really good together. But to do that right off is maybe a difficult ask. But
also something to point out.
Very good, very, very good defender. And you guys would be
something to point out too. And I don't know if Paul mentioned it. I'm sorry if you did. He's got 1 year left on his deal, so he can play this season with Real Madrid. Then he goes for nothing. So
yeah, Real Madrid are going to want, and they're poor, so they're going to want to get some money.
Would be shocked. Yeah. I mean, the only thing you could add to that is that they just sold Ramos, so you're literally going to sell both your center backs in the same season. That would be kind of my only kind of caveat concern.
The new news out of Real Madrid is that they have to. They're being forced seemingly by the government of Spain because they're so in debt to cut their wage bill.
Barcelona, same thing.
Which is like Barcelona, same
it's
thing.
Even worse for Barcelona.
Which is like, this is the pandemic, this is the COVID madness, but this is also like the effect of being.
It's also mismanaging
a badly run club that is also influenced and funded in part by the government because
spending way too much money.
They're so critical to like tourism and infrastructure and jobs and like just
there's more money.
A bunch of weird shit that you don't get anywhere else. So I do think there is something to be said that Real Madrid would be relatively comfortable to accepting a bid to lose him. Knowing that they and their closest competitor, Barcelona, are still doing kind of the same thing. They're just dealing with this changing environment.
So let's have some fun here. Put up some percentages on this, the likelihood of this happening.
Well, before we do, I'm going to say one thing, because you made a really good point.
Yeah.
He did?
For any Man United fan out there,
shocking.
I want everybody to temper their excitement with Varane. Nobody really knows how good this guy is when he doesn't have a world-class defensive midfield player in front of him.
True.
Yeah. Casemiro for Real Madrid and Conte for France. Conte for France, like the guy is spoiled for protection in front of him, and the Real Madrid tempo and pace is much different than what he'll face in the Premier League at Man United. So there is still this
idea be an adjustment, and I think that's why I said it'll take a season.
Planting if he can adjust,
if he can, yeah,
and it's an if because usually you can see a guy play on the international stage and go, this guy could do the business, but this guy's had world-class protection every level he played at.
Been insulated.
Sure. So if I was going to do the percentage game, which you just threw out, I'm a 60-40 right now.
Yeah, I think I'd aim any percentage on any transfer without like really good, solid reasoning or a good source at about 60-40. Like the likelihood is it's more likely than it's not, but it's not most likely. So yeah, I'd probably be the same 60.
I'll tell you what, because we're sitting here and we had a couple of drinks, we've been chatting about it.
He's going to go high. 70-30.
I'm going to go 70%.
Yeah. There it is. All right, let's move on because we've talked about one fucking transfer.
Yeah, that's like a done deal.
Right.
And I know it's a United one, so you guys wanted to get your wank off. But all right, Paulie, move on.
Ruben Neves. Wolves.
Are you still your team or your former team?
The Sean Connery
still your team?
Accent.
No, I don't know.
Have you moved away?
No.
You dropped him.
I dropped him. I started liking the way Leeds played more. Like if I'm gonna have a secondary
moved,
team,
he moved to fucking Leeds.
I like
Leeds
so
of
if you
all
guys don't
teams,
know,
No, you can't knock
if
him.
you guys don't know, I have a team.
Paul's very North American about his sports.
Man United are my team, but I watch all Premier League games, and when you watch all Premier League games, you can like a squad. I like.
Just an appreciation.
I'll give you an example. Leicester won the league. I was like, this is a great team. This like who wouldn't want to cheer them on a little bit? Who wouldn't want to cheer Wolves on a little bit? Who wouldn't want to cheer on Leeds a little bit? Bielsa ball's fantastic. So I always have a bit of a secondary team that I like to support.
It's true.
Fuck
Then a good explanation.
Fuck
of it, too.
Leeds. Fuck Leicester.
And the guy with the Tottenham
Fuck
tattoo
Wolves.
can't handle it.
Why is that a thing for you, by the way?
I also have a
So
big,
weird.
big fan of whoever Ted Lasso manages. That's a great team.
Oh, great team.
Was Spurs, but he left.
Ruben Neves, 24, Portuguese international, been plying his trade in the center of midfield at Wolves. Fantastic. He is
Great player.
probably ready for a move away. It's a club that is, no disrespect, but it's a certain size fishbowl. He's outgrown the fishbowl. It's time to move on. I think that club also needs to move on players to sustain themselves as a regular Premier League entity so they can reinvest in the team.
Yeah, it's sort of what happened with
Always
Nuno,
be there.
Nuno moving on as well, because that was part of that cycle that they need to do.
It will be regular for them. They'll be a regular Premier League team. They just want to be a regular.
Who's their
team.
manager now?
It's a Portuguese fella.
Of course,
Yeah.
of
No
course.
surprise.
I don't know if they will be a regular team, and I want to know.
I actually think they might
I
go
want to
down.
know where you're going with the Ruben Neves thing because
So-
there might be some
Yeah,
stuff I
let's
don't know
let him-
about.
let's let him
Yeah,
go.
I mean, I'm curious here.
Let's hear it
I'm
out.
dialed.
This is what I deal with. Arsenal
Yeah, it is what you
are
fucking
rumored
do,
to be
buddy.
putting in a bid for Ruben Neves because
Interesting.
Xhaka is potentially moving on to join Mourinho.
Roma.
Does he want to
and
go?
Roma.
Does he want to go to an Arsenal team that finished 10th last season?
That's the question.
It's a move up, right?
If
Whether
there is-
you're biased or not, it's a huge move up.
I don't agree. I think it used to be.
You do
I think
agree.
it used to
No,
be.
no, you do agree.
No, I don't. Don't tell me
It's-
what I think.
You don't think Wolves to Arsenal is
I don't
a move
think
up.
Arsenal are the team that you think they are anymore.
No, we all don't think they are.
So,
but
so
you're
it's a
going to
move
tell
sideways.
me you think Wolves to Arsenal is a move sideways.
I do. Yeah.
That's an unintelligent comment.
No,
you
it
shouldn't be
isn't.
saying that.
Why
That
shouldn't
was
I?
wild. It's still Arsenal.
What does that? What does that mean?
They're still going to finish above Wolves because they've got more money. They've got more global presence. Wolves, I think, is declining. And I think Neves to Arsenal, if that's a real legitimate rumor, would be an incredible move.
Are you questioning my rumor?
I think it would
Well,
be.
I
I think it'd be incredible for Arsenal. I don't think it'd
Yeah.
be incredible for Neves.
Well, here's the thing. Arsenal can attract that type of player. Wolves can't. They
I
go
mean,
to the lower
He
leagues
literally
in
went to
Portugal
Wolves before they were in the Premier League.
before he was
and
Ruben
bro-
Neves.
and then finished 7th twice 2 seasons.
No,
in a
I
row
want to hear more
because
about
of
this.
him.
I want to hear more about
Give
this.
me a
before.
fucking
So
break.
the sticking point with this, I would think, and this is all speculation, is that is Arsenal enough of a move to warrant his next move?
No.
He's 24, so this will probably be the move to a club where he should be on the main
He
stage.
should be
of-
going to like a Leicester
of
or a
Champions
Chelsea
League and all
or
those things. So what I think will probably happen
Arsenal.
is if this move feels likely, if it does become known that Wolves are going to move on Ruben Neves and they're open to that, I think other suitors, probably outside of the Premier League as well, will come in because at 24, he is a very accomplished midfield player.
Hold on a second.
I'd take him at Spurs
Can
in
we
second.
pause and not like for me? He's
He's so mad.
He's
over it.
I am. He's a good player. The ilk in which you speak of him, for me, and I think you and I agree on this. He's a good midfielder.
Yeah,
Paul talks about him like he's like
Paul had a Woody over him for a few seasons.
He's and I want to be.
He bought a Wolves
We're
jersey
having some
with
fun
his
here,
name
but
on
I
the
want to
back.
be clear. He's not that ilk of player. He's a good Premier League midfielder. He's not like someone you pay 40
But
or
I think-
50 million for.
No, but I think
He's not.
Who said 40 or 50?
yeah. Where did you get that number?
Well,
from?
I don't know. It's just the way you spoke about him. He's a good Premier League
Dude,
midfielder.
I can love players that are not worth a ton of money.
No, for sure. But like, okay, so here's my
Guys,
question.
we got to roll on.
No,
here. We
no,
don't
I
have a ton
have
of time.
no, I know, but I have a question. What would Arsenal get him for? What's a good number that he could go for if both parties wanted to make it happen?
He is rumored to be about 35 or 40.
Yeah, I was going to say 30,
Interesting.
35. So
Okay.
yeah,
I
around
still
there.
think it would be a great signing for them.
I think it'd be a fantastic signing for
Yeah.
Arsenal. I don't think they deserve him, but it'd be
Great
fantastic.
profile. The Arsenal need that type of player.
I would like to see him go someplace better.
Me too.
Yeah.
As a fan of his, I would like to see
Like
him
Arsenal.
go someplace better.
Yeah, no, not like Arsenal. Better than Arsenal.
Better than Arsenal.
Arsenal are
Okay.
shit.
The next rumor is kind of a two-parter, and we can talk about this. There's a storyline. There's a certain narrative developing out of the Liverpool camp and the press around Liverpool that they need to replace. And you can say the name because you're always obsessive about saying his name right. A certain Dutch player from
Gini
midfield.
Wijnaldum.
Yeah, there we go.
Very
Say
well,
it.
very well pronounced.
You know,
Um,
he called him Gigi.
And
Watch our previous video, folks.
Calls him out.
Calls him fucking
Calls
Gigi.
him right out. on the
Hilarious.
tube.
the day I say the name of a Liverpool player correct, like
Yeah,
Jordan,
it's intentional. Yeah, you just
Jordan Henderson.
Hendersone.
From now on, if you're a Liverpool player, I'm going to say it in a French Quebec accent. Jordan Henderson.
Yeah.
So the idea is that they need to replace him because they moved him on. I would make the argument that they actually are pretty stacked in midfield, and I don't know that.
Yeah, they don't really need
necessarily
to. Right? Isn't
agree.
Keita sort of playing that same position or similar position?
He's a bit. Who knows what's going on? But they got Henderson and Fabinho.
Yeah, no, but in Keita is also. I'm just saying
He can play that role.
They have players in that position.
Keita, Curtis Jones, who
Jones
Jones
had a brilliant period last season.
Nobody
Like
saw him
Jones.
coming. He was so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Alex
One of their own
is
as well, right? Came through the academy.
Hold on a second, but let's be fair. He's a huge loss because he was fantastic for them.
He was so consistent.
So very
Such a
good.
consistent player.
Totally, but like, I mean, are Liverpool really the kind of team that they have a huge loss and then they go and replace it with money
No.
that they haven't really gotten from selling somebody?
No.
That's not really been the case.
It's not been their system, is it?
And the players they're attached to are fantastic midfield players that will cost a pretty penny. So the first one would be Yuri Tillemans, who's Leicester City. They're very good right now. They're in a very good power position when it comes to negotiation. They won't want to sell him. He's a Belgian international.
A lot like the a couple of their.
He's 24 years old. He is part of what is a very healthy and I would say competitive midfield right now that can compete across multiple tournaments because they've made some decent transfers in the summer so far already. There's a lot of speculation that he walked around the field at the end of a game and clapped everybody, and that's like his goodbye. Which
it was kind of weird because like
people want to make so much out of this crap.
That was a production.
It's probably just him going, "Hey guys, thanks for being here." We haven't
no,
had fans
it was,
the entire.
It was more.
Hey, wait a minute.
Watch it.
I've watched it. We haven't had fans the entire fucking season. It's nice for people to be here. Thanks for being here.
It was separate from the team and it looked isolated. Like he was saying, "Thank you. This is my last game." And I was like, "Dude, didn't even know he was rumored to anybody." And the season's still happening. It just felt weird.
Yeah. Okay.
Great player though.
Maybe the context of it I didn't.
So here's my question to you: do Liverpool need him?
I think every team would benefit from Yuri Tillemans.
Very good.
Yeah, he's a solid player.
And it's not a question of whether he's a good fit or whether he should go or any of those things. It's just more of a question of, I mean, good luck prying him away from Leicester City, who have money, who are in multiple tournaments, who are, I think, competing in Europe this year,
Fifth, yeah.
who need depth. Why would they sell him?
No.
Man United were in a position like this, and they had to spend $80 million on a center back, which was
it's similar to that as well. What's his name? Who went to City as well? They won the league, and then he went to City.
Center back?
No, right forward. Fuck, brain farts right
now.
Mahrez, thank you. Same thing for Leicester. They're like, we've got a player worth a ton of money, just did all this stuff, won the league, moves to City. It's kind of what Leicester do. Like they've done that with some big players, but they get massive money for them because they're in powered position.
Well, they don't need to sell.
That's what I mean. There's no need to sell. We are in these tournaments. We are in these competitions. We are in a power position. Right. If you really want them, this is what it's going to cost.
So if it was Man United, I'd be like, okay, well they've proven before they'll spend it. They'll bite the bullet.
Yeah.
I don't think Liverpool do that. I just don't.
I don't think so either.
So the second rumor with Liverpool to fill in that spot, if it needs filling, is a non-Premier League player, Sal Niguez. He's a Spanish former international. He didn't quite make the squad this year. Atletico Madrid, who won La Liga, is a weird player. I love this guy, but his reputation precedes his ability a little bit. He's one of these guys where everybody talks in glowing terms of how good he is, just to make sure that nobody misses him. Because what he does is a lot of carrying the water and being the dynamic force in the midfield, not necessarily scoring the goals or setting up the plays. And I think because of that...
What's the guy's name?
Sal Niguez.
Where does he play?
He plays for Atletico Madrid. He's a midfield player.
I'm coming in with a hammer here, and you're not going to like it.
And I actually think...
I don't even know the guy.
He's
folks.
He's a lot of reputation. However, I can immediately see how he fits into this Liverpool Klopp side, and I can immediately see the danger of how he would make them better, and I don't like that so much.
So I know we're a Premier League podcast, but I'm going to break this here because it seems like you guys haven't seen this, and I know you haven't heard of him.
I've seen it.
He's a fantastic player.
I maybe have heard the name. I don't know
but
if I've ever seen him play.
Paul's right. I do think this is a very unique situation where his reputation maybe does precede him because he is in a great Atletico team. So the very, very hot rumor, and it's growing.
And it's a rumor.
But it's catching a lot of steam, is Antoine Griezmann from Barcelona back to Atletico Madrid
Yeah, I've heard that.
for Saul Niguez and
Yeah,
a
there's
little bit of cash in
Yeah,
between.
I saw that today actually.
And it's not
that's
that
where I
it's,
know the name from.
it's changed. It's not, well, it's still a rumor, but it's a red hot rumor, like it's happening.
Did you guys find that like player swap rumors are the most popular,
Yeah, of
and
course
yet the least likely to work out?
Yeah, because it's incredibly hard to do. It's harder to do than just like cash, because
Yeah.
you've got to get two players to agree
Yeah.
rather than one player. You know, wages and one player.
Totally.
So one player going the other. It's just more complicated.
Like-
But it is being offered quite a bit, because every team has, deadwood, as they say, when it comes to, we've got these players, we need to move on, and we'll give you this guy for this guy. And
deadwood or not, like nobody, when you call a player deadwood, it makes the transfer of player for player feel like somebody's getting robbed. It is more likely because
I'm
players,
calling them deadwood because of they're in a club, my club, not because that's what
it is more likely going to become increasingly the
perception is.
rumor, or maybe the reality, because clubs don't have cash anymore, and that this NBA style player for player trade is going to become increasingly the norm.
In the situation we're in post-COVID, is because the clubs don't have the money to do it, and it's like, well, we have assets. Those assets are the players,
right?
And what can I do with that asset?
But that's
we can trade the asset. One asset.
I have
for the
noticed that kind of logic is fueled not the actual transfers, but the rumors.
Oh, for
the
sure.
The actual amount of player for player transfers that have happened.
None, zero.
And it's been like a year and a half. People have been talking about this.
Nothing's happened.
I think I've seen one, maybe two.
I don't even think
very rare. And it's
I think it's a lot
so
harder
funny.
to do in European football.
Like, think about, we'll use a very quick example. You look like a Harry Kane, you look at Man City. Man City want him. Harry Kane would likely want to go. And let's just say Raheem Sterling, Merrick Laporte, and maybe another, like a Bernardo Silva, right? So
you wouldn't get all three. I mean, that's
hypothetically though, right?
Probably
like
2 plus cash.
2 plus cash, or maybe all 3. But you nailed it, Brad. You'd have to get. Let's forget the 3-2. You'd have to get 3 to go to go.
Why would they want to go play in the Conference League for Spurs?
And then, but also
ridiculous.
Look at the wagers are probably on at City, and it's not like, especially to Paul's point, the higher the level is, like these higher end teams and these higher profile players, I just can't see it happening that often.
No, it doesn't work. Guys, we got to move on. We've got 11 minutes before we got to finish off.
Let's give Brian something to finish off strong with.
Let's go.
Tottenham Hotspur rumored to sign
Never heard of him.
Tomiyasu, which is probably not how you say it, but I think it is.
How do you say it?
I believe it's a Japanese international.
He is Japanese, yeah. That's
and
true.
he's a center back.
That's pretty good pronunciation, Paul.
And
he's actually not
the
just
fact that he's Japanese and he's a center back is all I know about him.
Yes. So he's 22 years old. He played in Italy for just brain fart with the name. Sorry, guys.
How dare you?
I know, terrible. Anyway, he's a right-sided center half as well as a right-sided center back. He's a pretty large, pretty tall fella, very fast, really good on the ball, able to play the ball out from defense, and really well sought out. I think he'd fit into Spurs' current squad perfectly. Also, there's a ton of money in the Asian market because that's how Daniel Levy thinks. So he's thinking, well, if Heung-min Son isn't going to sign my contract, I got to get back into the Asian market.
Hold on, are you trying to get Son to sign a contract?
Trying to. We've been trying to. He's been signing a contract for a year on
and
paper.
He still hasn't signed.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. It's one of the most ridiculous situations. Anyway, point is, let's get back to Tomiyasu.
Spursy.
It is so Spursy. Wonderful, wonderful looking player. If we can bring him in, I honestly think this is going to be a really good signing for Spurs in the position that we absolutely need it, in 2 positions that we need it, because he can play right back as well. And Sergio Aurier is supposed to be on his way out, and Matt Doherty is not very good, although Nuno's in, so maybe that's going to help Doherty.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
He's had his best seasons under him.
So we can unpack. I don't generally like to talk about Tottenham too much because it feels like
because Brian has a tattoo about it, and he'll yell at me.
I can see the boner in your pants when we do. But what I would say is
actually there's no boner right now. Trust me, Tottenham do not give me a boner.
Legitimately, there's enough things going on at Tottenham right now. I actually have some questions here.
Oh shoot!
So Nuno comes in.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that you're going to go 3 at the back? His preferred?
I think it's going to be versatile. I think it depends on who we play, based on what he's done in previous clubs. And I've done a lot of research on this. I've had to do multiple videos for other channels talking about what I would expect from Nuno. He typically plays 3 at the back based on what we saw at Wolves because of the personnel he had. But Spurs have a lot more attacking talent. And have the ability to play 4 at the back, which is what he tried to move to at Wolves last season. So I do think we'll see a mix depending on the team we're playing against. If we're playing the Man Cities, the Manchester Uniteds, the Chelseas, there will be 3 at the back. It'll be a bit more pragmatic. But when we're playing some of the other squads, though, it'll go to a 4-3-3 probably, which is what he played at. Was it
Lazio?
No, Fiorentina was
Fiorentina.
Yeah, he was really attacking when he played there, and he was, so he's versatile. He's able to adjust, which I think is going to be key, especially with the squad we have, because it is a bit of a mess, and of course that has to be dealt with when it comes to some of the ins and outs. That Tomiyasu, which is sort of the start of this conversation, would help considerably, because we need players in that position, those two positions, and if he fills both of them at the same time, it's very good for Spurs.
Can I give you a prediction that YouTube and our podcast can capture, just for the record? 80% of the Spurs games will be 3 at the back.
No, they won't. They won't be. I think probably 60, 65 of them will be.
As a guy that was a Wolves fan and a fan of his,
Yeah, but again, I just described why that won't be the case, because Wolves did not have the.
He had one season where he didn't change a player. A starting 11.
Yeah.
He had a small squad with low budget and not a lot of players.
Yeah, he's going to find what works and he's going to stick to it. And I think for him, with your team, and by the way,
he's been asked, Paul.
Like, don't glaze over the fact that you have Doherty. He's going to try to get Doherty back to being Doherty.
He's been asked.
That's a wing back, and that means 3 at the back.
He's been asked by the upper management that Spurs must play attacking football, or he won't have a job. Or he won't have a job.
I think he's capable of doing both, though.
He's done it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think people misunderstand what 3 at the back means.
Also 3 at the back can be very attacking.
You can play.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
So think of Spurs 2016, 2017.
I actually think it's a good signing for them. I'm excited to see him at Spurs. Like, obviously I know Brian loves Spurs and I'm not here cheering them on, but I actually think, when he was appointed, a lot of people are like, oh my God, they tried to sign 4 other managers. I think Nuno could be good for Spurs.
I think it's exactly what we need right now.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue was Spurs were just trying to do all these things that were so misguided without any actual direction or understanding where they wanted to go. Oh, let's bring in Conte. Totally not what Spurs are about. Oh, let's bring in this other player or this other manager. Oh, not at all what Spurs are about. None of it was with intention. None of it was with intention. It was a fucking joke. Like 72 days without a manager.
Let's bring in Nuno, our 4th choice.
I think he's not. I think he's the decent choice.
4th choice.
He should have been our first, though, if we're going to be smart about it. I mean, he was available at the beginning of our search.
Do you know what the answer is? Time will tell.
But Paratici came in, and I know this is overly Spurs talk, but you guys did it at the beginning of this fucking
No, I love it.
So Paratici came in from Italy, from Juventus, as the director of football. And what he actually wanted Nuno, once he eventually got in as on July 1st, and his thoughts were like, here's why, and here's why this will work. He was had wanted to work with him previously, so I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm not 100% convinced, but I do think season's coming up.
It's one of those things we're going to find out soon.
Yeah, we'll know in a month.
80% of Tottenham games will be 3 at the back. The next transfer rumor,
just an FYI, we've got 6 minutes,
and it will be very quick. Tammy Abraham, who I think we all agree is a good player, not a great player.
Where's he rumored to go, Paul?
Doesn't really deserve to be the starting striker or even maybe the backup striker for Chelsea. Is rumored to be moving on. He seems to have had some stories behind him that he doesn't train particularly well, that Tuchel doesn't really like him. I don't know if that's entirely true. It might not be fair to say, but Giroud's likely to be moving on to AC Milan tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, is that an official?
It could be breaking. But the rumors are that Aston Villa are in with a bid.
I think that's perfect.
Or a general interest, which is him
Ollie
returning.
Watkins and Tammy Abraham beside each other?
That is him returning to a club that he was on loan to that helped bring up from the...
He's the reason he ended up getting played at Chelsea because of what he did at Villa. Yeah, impressive.
And also West Ham, who I think are probably a little bit, for him, I think going to look at as a elevated version than Aston Villa.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I would agree with that.
And it's London and...
Yep.
For me, I feel like
that London side of it
this David Moyes side, I can see him immediately going in there. I can see him being the new face of it.
They're using at West
David
Ham.
Moyes at West Ham.
Of course, you think he's going to displace Michael Antonio immediately?
Well, yeah. So Antonio isn't a striker.
He was at the second half.
No. But here's my point. You can still use him on the right side or the left side, and you can add Abraham, and you're going to still have a really good Antonio. So you're not. I don't think you're losing that much. I think you're actually gaining it.
You mentioned about Harry Kane earlier. I think if you build around Tammy, and I'm not saying he's a player that you build around, but he can score goals.
You do if you don't build around him, but you certainly build to make sure that
his
you get
strengths.
100%.
And he can score
goals. West Ham need a player like that, and if you can bring him in and have Antonio to support him, that makes West Ham side a lot better.
Fit, and I'll tell you,
I agree. I think it'd be
people are divided on Tammy Abraham. I think
he's a good player.
There's still a very good player in there that can offer you.
He does need service, though.
He can
massively.
offer you 10 to 15 goals a season if he stays healthy with the right setup. At least
Yeah,
10.
But you keep Antonio.
That's a lot of
You
goals.
keep Antonio
That's a
in
lot.
that with him, then maybe those 10 goals.
Yeah, I
are
don't think
more
West Ham
possible.
would be a good fit. Who knows? That's an interesting one.
Paulie, what else you got before we sign off, brother?
Oh, we still have time?
We got 3 minutes.
We still have
We
time?
got 3 minutes.
We'll go through another Aston Villa rumor because I feel like
This is for you, Luke. miss you, buddy.
Luke is out there wanting to talk about it. There's two, but we'll talk about the one that we can talk about. Axel Twanzebe is rumored to be going out on loan or a permanent deal to Aston Villa. Again, he was on loan when they were in the championship to help bring them up. He's a Man United player. He's very young. He's been hit by some injuries. He has not had the chances at Man United, not for lack of interest or attempt to give him those interests, those moments, those opportunities. It's really just been bad timing on his part and our part. Highly rated, I think that's fair to say, but could also, I think, if a bid came in for 30 million for this kid and we were going to bid 40, 45 for Varane, easy math.
Yeah.
See you later. We hope you have a great career. Maybe sneak in a buyback clause. But with Aston Villa, I feel like it would be a great signing for them. Also rumored, just to throw in the mix, is Brighton, related to the move that White might be going to Arsenal.
Oh.
And then I'm immediately like, for his career, for his development, I want players to go to Brighton right now. They're so well coached. They're so defensively sound. They play three at the back. Sometimes
I wouldn't say defensively sound. I think that's a stretch.
They're very defensively sound.
They had the fifth best defensive record in the league
They're
last year.
extremely defensively
Goals
sound.
scored against
They couldn't.
them were second
They
highest in the
couldn't
league.
score.
I know, but the goals scored against
They
them
had
was
how many ties? 0-0 ties did they
it
have?
was way worse than that.
Here's the thing. I think
I
Axel.
looked at Graham Potter considerably.
I don't think Axel got a fair shot at United, and I would tell you he had a great spell under the same manager that's at Villa. I think Villa would be a great fit. For me, biased as a United fan, I wouldn't like it to be a sell. I think there's a player in there. Loan him out, get him some game time. He knows the coach. He knows the team. Would be a great fit. Rather see him there than Brighton, but that's me being selfish. But he's a good defender.
Yeah, sure. I would agree with that.
Would you take him at Spurs?
Like
Even as a solid backup.
Squad player, maybe.
Yeah.
But we've got enough of those already
I was going to
in
say,
that position. So
I think he's better. I don't think Ole gave him a full shot. He had that game against PSG, but
He was injured.
I think he could make it into your team and surprise you.
Yeah. We've already got the Tangangas who do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same type
No,
of
that's a
player,
fair point.
All right, folks. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. This has been our first official podcast on YouTube. So thank you for watching. The two of you have watched. Okay.
Shall we cheers? You got your drink?
Yeah. Let's cheers, guys.
Cheers to our first
Football,
show.
beer, banter, repeat is what we do here on the North End podcast. We've got a ton of content coming up, guys. We're going to be doing stuff probably 2 or 3 times a week. Different things from everybody, all the contributors here. And we're looking forward to doing it. And a podcast each week. Each one will be sort of a preview of what's going to happen next week in the Premier League.
Should we mention that if any of our regular podcast listeners want to come in and help us develop content for the YouTube channel?
Yeah, that's also in the description below. So you'll see our emails down there and all our socials are down there. So reach out and let us know if you want to hop on or have a conversation or be a part of what we're doing. This is going to be, we're hoping to grow the channel, and like and subscribe if you're watching. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
This is the North End.